That's what I think Legend. I'm going to show you some elbow destructions off the kick. We had a question from Roberto Diaz about mixing the Panantukan and the Muay Thai. So obviously I came to Panantukan expert Kurt here at MKG Detroit. I smile just because we don't take ourselves too seriously, but seriously, if you want to get good, yeah, check them out. First of all, we're not huge fans of doing this in application because it requires a high degree of accuracy. Not a huge fan of doing that in sparring because it requires a large degree of accuracy to not hurt your partner. However, here are some ideas, and we're going to finish with one that we think is a little bit safer. First things first, we're not going to do the one that you always see, which is this. Catch, elbow, and then maybe turn into a spinning elbow as well. Lots of great videos on that, so we're not going to do that.
So, kick coming on the high line. Oftentimes, it may be a good place to start is just looking at the elbow destruction or destruction with the elbow in general, right? So from a Filipino or Southeast Asian martial art perspective, oftentimes what we see first is against a punch, maybe a cross or jab comes in, and we just let them run into this, or we turn into it a little bit, right? Sometimes it's sandwiched here this way, sometimes it's thrown out as a shot, or it's just speared, okay? So these first ones, where we're letting them run into it or we're spearing it, against the kick, my opinion is we're just going to go ahead and say that that's a bad idea, okay? Simply put, when he throws that head kick up, to just eat this against the elbow, he's got shin pads. I'm wearing, these are actually technically volleyball knee pads because they're really, really dense. To take a kick on the elbow joint like that is going to be a miserable feeling for both of us. It's not a good exchange. I don't feel like I'm coming out on top at all. So the one we're going to look at is to allow first part, a defensive cover to happen, right? So we're blocking and we're covering this in some way. And then the other option, or the other piece of the equation, is this right elbow is gonna come up. So instead of spearing, it's gonna clip up this way, right? So just a vertical up elbow while we catch, pat, or defend with the other arm. So this kick comes in, bang, up like this. Again, bang. I'm doing this against the shin, that's where we have the most padding. You could conversely turn into this and do it against the foot, the top of the foot. It'll be easier to do damage, right? So maybe from a self-defense perspective, that's a better option, and from a training with a friend or a training partner perspective, a less than ideal one. So a couple more reps, here against the foot, or here against the shin. In practice, we want to try and stay, keep our gaze on our partner. Right now I'm turning so I can look at the camera here, but otherwise I want to try and stay here, centered. So I'm going to maybe rotate a little bit, but I'm certainly not doing this, right? I'm staring right at his shin, and I have to rely on my peripheral vision to see whatever's coming next. So it's better for me to take this here, or here like this, okay?
What's nice about this elbow destruction is he's cutting off my power slightly before the apex of my power, right? He's getting a little bit early in the power stroke. You can also opt to fade with it and destroy it late in the power stroke, right? So if he wants to step away from it, that's one way to build some safety into this. If you're really sweet, like if you're like Senchai sweet, you can attempt to do the fade back and clip it. We're not going to do that because even against the foot, not super safe, but that's something that people like to do. Again, hard to do safely. Kind of cool if you're doing it against a beginner who's pissing you off, I suppose. Because honestly, that's all most of us are able to do, right? Like I don't feel against anyone but a beginner I could pull this off at all, never mind without permanent damage. So.
For what it's worth, don't do this to a beginner.
Oh yeah, well.
So next set of kicks, middle line kicks, right? So coming here to the ribs, the floating rib, the hip, wherever, middle line. So very similar ideas, we're gonna clip this. Instead of letting him run into it, bang, like that, we're gonna cover and then clip this up. Here, bang, that, here, bang. Against the shin, it's not going to feel good. The nature of kick destruction with the elbow, it's not my go-to, and that's one of the reasons. So as Roy was talking about before, if I fade this way a little more, that might help me get out of the power line. It's still gonna be a little bit miserable. So alternatively, what's often trained is shot against the foot. You're dealing with all these little bones that are easy to break instead of one big slab of bone that maybe is gonna cause me a similar amount of damage. So here, this way. I will again caution you to not bury this in against the foot. Maybe miss it, whiff it in the air, or just kind of give it a little love tap. If you are going to try and really put this on, that's why we're also cautioning you to not do this in sparring where things are maybe more erratic or you might have a little adrenaline going. It's a really, really easy way to seriously injure their foot. So from a self-defense perspective, maybe that's exactly what you're looking for. For sparring, try and keep that in check. The last idea we're talking about is a push kick or a teep, foot jab with that rear foot. It's just for the sake of the camera, we're doing the right side here. So he's gonna kick me, boom, in the rock hard abs. I'm gonna scoop with my right hand over top, right? And we have options from here. I like the idea of spearing the calf muscle with this. It's less injury to my arm as opposed to hitting the shin bone. And it's a really miserable shot on his end for hitting the Achilles or the calf or something like that. It's a little bit awkward, at least for me, this sort of feeling. And what most importantly makes me nervous is that I'm here kind of standing in front of those hands, or he's gonna feed me this knee, or he's gonna hit me. It just feels less safe from a follow-up perspective. So the other idea here is you can scoop this, drop this into this hand, and bury that one on top. So again, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, like this. 1, 2. That allows you to pull yourself back, continue to use this to actually do the shot, and then your momentum is now redirected forward, I think in a safe and productive way, as opposed to what we usually call sort of an oh shit position, where I might get hit like this. 1, 2.
What's nice about this technique too is you don't have to follow up with the elbow until you're sure you've got a decent scoop, right? If Kurt's foot jabbing and I miss it, okay, well, I'm just ready to follow up with other punches now, right? If Kurt foot jabs and I got it, now I have the wherewithal to make the space, off balance him with the lift and shuffle. Now I'm like, okay, I can clip this. But if I miss it, I'm not committed to a technique that punishes me for missing it. Unlike some of the blocking elbow destructions, if the kick rides up the shelf, you miss it, you're gonna pay a price. That's why we like this, right? It's an option, and also because you're not taking the elbow on the first motion, even in sparring, you can just do the motion and in your head know you got it, but you don't have to actually execute it. Or you can just hit it with the glove just to let them know, I got you with the elbow destruction.
I've had training partners in the past who will just literally say out loud the technique that they're doing in order to do it safe. So, like within some of these arts, we're doing pummeling things like this, or what they call hoobud here. So in some of these positions, where they'll just talk about headbutt. They'll just say eyes like that, so that we're not worried about getting too close and maybe some of these things are happening, or getting too close and excited and the headbutt is going in. They'll just say it, and it's more for themselves to go, hey, don't forget to pay attention to the fact that this line is available, or these lines are available, just to continue to reinforce those ideas. So if you're finding when you're doing this that you can't successfully do it without hurting each other, you can try something along those lines. It's not going to ingrain it in your muscle memory as far as technique goes, but you'll still continue to train your vision to see those lines.
So Roberto, I hope this answered your question at least partially, gives you some ideas to play with. Again, feel free to share and write in with more suggestions or questions, and we'll be happy to take a shot at it. This is Roy with Kurt here at MTG Detroit. Keep your chin in, elevate your strength.